Alright everyone, this is where the fun begins. Matt Walsh dropped a terrible review of Revenge of the Sith, and it's time to tear into it.
This movie is outrageously, offensively bad.
Well, I'm very sorry you're offended.
Well, despite what my critics may claim, I think I am actually a good dad. I love my kids. I make sacrifices for them. I sometimes even subject myself to unspeakable tortures for their sake. And that's what I did over the weekend when I took some of the kids to go see the 20th anniversary re-release of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith in theaters.
You say this like you experienced Order 66. I didn't realize you had it so hard, Matt.
Sounds hard. Really hard.
I hadn't seen the film since it first came out, and my initial experience with the movie was such that I had no desire to ever experience it again, but I didn't count on one day having children of my own who somehow would become diehard Star Wars fans. I don't know how this happened. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I didn't pass this fandom down to them. I don't come from a Star Wars family. My own dad was not a Star Wars fan. He was more of a Star Trek guy. That never really clicked with me either. I have no affinity for any sci-fi franchise with the word star in the title. I am, however, a fan of the actual stars. You know, why watch Star Wars when you can look up at the stars at night and see the great cosmic pageant that God himself has written, produced, and directed for us? That's what I've tried to tell my kids, to no avail.
This is one of the most miserable statements I've ever heard in a while. Guys, why engage in sci-fi when you can stare at the stars all night? What a fascinating hook to your video.
I gave this speech to my son once, and he said, yeah, but God didn't make lightsabers. And I said, okay, good point, but don't talk back, you're grounded.
I didn't realize that making a logical argument was a reason to ground someone, but I'm very sorry that offends you.
And in any case, whether through some sort of genetic anomaly or more likely through pro-Star Wars brainwashing from their mother, who my kids are now Star Wars fans, and they really wanted to see the third film in the prequel series in theaters, which has just been re-released, and so I agreed. And after suffering again through the entire 9-hour runtime, or what felt like it, I can confidently say that Revenge of the Sith is even worse than I remember, like a lot worse.
Wrong answer!
I remember it as a boring, miserable film, but I guess I'd blocked out many of the details, subconsciously attempting to save myself from reliving the trauma. This movie is outrageously, offensively bad.
Liar!
You could, and I'm not saying this for effect, you could make a case that it's like the worst film ever made.
Hold your horses. It's not even the worst Star Wars film, considering The Phantom Menace exists, Attack of the Clones exists, and don't even get me started on the sequel trilogy.
And sad to say, it's competing with more than one other Star Wars title for the top of that list.
There's no conceivable way that Revenge of the Sith is anywhere near as flawed as The Last Jedi, but I'd love to hear you make this case. Just remember that he basically implied that as we watched this review.
Everything about it is bad, except the score. The score is pretty good, but not enough to rescue the film. If John Williams made a score for a video of a dog taking a dump, it would be slightly more entertaining than it would have been without the score, but it would still be a dog taking a dump. And this film is the cinematic equivalent of that. First of all, as many people have pointed out over the years, but I must reiterate, the dialogue is atrocious. George Lucas, it would seem, has never heard humans speak. He writes dialogue like I imagine an alien would write dialogue if the only thing he knew about the human race he learned by watching daytime soap operas. There is not one moment where the script reaches even like a C grade. It is the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a mainstream Hollywood film. It is shockingly bad.
So I'm not gonna pretend like the dialogue doesn't need work at times, but this is an egregious exaggeration. Anakin and Obi-Wan have good moments of banter, while having some good dramatic exchanges as well. The scene where Anakin and Palpatine discuss the Jedi and the Sith really brings compelling ideas to the table to develop Palpatine's worldview, and Anakin's growing distaste for the Jedi. The dialogue in the scene is pretty good, but we'll see if he addresses that, or even most of the dialogue in this movie.
Last summer, my kids used one of our phones to make a movie, as they called it, where they pretended to be pirates or something. And the dialogue in their 3-minute pirate movie was better than anything George Lucas came up with. So just to give one infamous example, in a scene early in the film, Anakin, played with the charisma of a metal folding chair by Hayden Christensen,
What did you say?
goes up to Padme, played by Natalie Portman, and says, "You're so beautiful." And then Padme responds, that's because I'm so in love. To which Anakin says, no, it's because I'm so in love with you. That is actual dialogue in this movie. It commits every sin of bad script writing. It is clunky, it's on the nose, it doesn't sound natural at all. Humans do not speak this way. Even humans in galaxies far, far away, unless they're living on planet Cheeseball in the lame dork galaxy. This is not how humans or any other species of sentient life forms speak or would speak. One of the most basic principles also of script writing is to show, don't tell. This is script writing 101. The absolute worst way to convey a character's emotions is to just have him say it.
You're omitting context from the scene that makes more sense of their interactions. The purpose of this conversation isn't just to convey that they love each other, it's to convey a playful element in their relationship and how it can result in awkward parts of their exchanges. Not to mention that Anakin is canonically an awkward person, because he grew up as a Jedi where you're taught to suppress emotion and avoid attachments to people. That's naturally going to result in less social skills, especially in a romantic context. So saying that this dialogue is awkward doesn't offer much criticism.
You're so beautiful.
Anakin didn't just randomly say this for the audience, he's saying this because Padme is literally adjusting her looks and he's trying to compliment her in the simplest way he can. He didn't say this randomly or without a natural reason.
It's only because I'm so in love.
No, it's because I'm so in love with you.
This part of the exchange indicates that she's trying to look her best for Anakin to explain her looks, and Anakin is trying to correct her by saying it's his love for her that drives his compliments. And the following dialogue indicates that Padme was looking to tease Anakin, despite clearly knowing what he meant.
So love has blinded you.
Well, that's not exactly what I meant.
This dialogue is fine. It's not the greatest exchange ever, but there's enough context to make sense of it. It's natural that Anakin would have more awkward responses when he lives a double life. One is a stoic Jedi that has to suppress emotions, and one is a loving man who wants to build a family. And it's natural that Padme would be playful with Anakin for the sake of banter, resulting in more awkwardness from Anakin. This is a really bad start if you want to prove that this movie is badly written.
So a clever writer, or even just a professional one, knows how to bring us into the character's mind without having him broadcast it. And so if you're telling us that if you're trying to tell us that Anakin thinks Padme is beautiful and Padme is so in love, there are like a million different scenes that any decently creative and literate person could come up with that get that message across.
That's not the point of the scene. We already know they love each other. The point of the scene is to show how they act when they're happy, to contrast the tragic elements that will follow in the story.
Instead, George Lucas just writes on the page, and then Anakin says, "You're beautiful." And Padme says, "I'm so in love." And Anakin says, "No, I'm in love." And Padme says, "No, I'm in love." And then they kiss. And then after they kiss, they both say at the same time, "I'm in love." And this way, the audience will understand that they're in love.
I just showed dialogue proving that this isn't the exchange that took place. The only part I left out was this line after Anakin said that's not what he meant, which ended the scene.
But it's probably true.
So no, they didn't just repeat "I love you" as Matt implies throughout this part of the video. Again, this is not a great start for your critique.
I mean, that's literally how the script was probably written. It was written like somebody was transcribing the off-the-cuff ramblings of a 5-year-old.
Oh, that's literally how it was written? Is that why you recounted the scene inaccurately and failed to gather any context to make sense of what plays out? You're not very good at this, are you?
The entire movie is like this. There is not one line of dialogue that sounds authentic, much less clever.
Okay, go watch this entire scene between Anakin and Palpatine and come back to me. And feel free to provide references too. I believe in innocent until proven guilty, and therefore believe that Revenge of the Sith is a 10 out of 10, until proven otherwise.
And to make matters worse, the acting is uniformly bad, in some cases grotesquely bad.
Okay, sure, some of the acting doesn't hold up, but I do want to mention that he failed to prove that the movie has a consistent problem with dialogue. He gave one example and moved on to another point. Very odd structuring of your video.
So we've established that the acting and dialogue were terrible.
Established how? You showed no examples of the acting being bad on a consistent basis, and only provided one exchange that didn't even prove your proposition.
Many apologists for the film, and I've heard this in just since yesterday, because I tweeted about this, and a lot of people were very upset, as you would expect, that I thought the movie was bad. But what I found is that a lot of people were conceding both points, but then claiming that the movie is still good. Now, of course, saying that a movie has bad acting and bad dialogue, but is still good, is like if you ask someone their opinion of the local Italian joint and they say, well, the customer service is terrible and the food tastes bad, but overall, it's actually a great restaurant.
but you didn't dismantle the entire meal or the customer service. This is like if you pointed out one small flaw in your meal that didn't even affect most of it, then proceed not to explain how the meal itself was bad. That's basically what you just did in this video.
By definition, it cannot be a great food service establishment if it fails in the areas of both food and service. And a film cannot be good if it's poorly written and poorly performed.
And your review can't be good if it's poorly argued and provides insufficient evidence for your claims.
Now, you might want to say, well, the acting sucks and the script sucks, but at least the action is good. I would submit that a poorly written and poorly performed film with good action is still on balance a bad film, but as it happens, this movie doesn't have good action scenes. The action scenes are long and busy and lots of things happen in them, but they are not good. I mean, the fight choreography is terrible. It's clumsy and nonsensical and uninspired. Many of the Jedis who are supposed to be like intergalactic ninjas, like the Karate Kids of the cosmos or whatever, have shockingly bad reflexes. I mean, Revenge of the Sith features some of the slowest fight scenes I've ever seen. There's a scene where Emperor Ovaltine, or whatever his name is.
Incredible. You can't even get the name of the main antagonist correct.
Who I guess is not an emperor yet in this, but he fights off a group of Jedis who came to apprehend him, and the actor who played Ovaltine was in his mid-60s, and he moves like it, and yet despite swinging the lightsaber with all the speed and vigor of a retiree playing softball, he still easily dispatches like multiple Jedi warriors who are supposed to be, you know, the greatest warriors in the universe, and in just with a casual, you know, flick of the lightsaber, they're dead. That's it.
The reason for that is because Palpatine is way faster than a typical Jedi. Yoda explicitly states that he's too powerful for Obi-Wan.
To fight this Lord Sidious strong enough, you are not.
So with that in mind, it makes complete sense that he can outmatch the reaction speeds of most of these Jedi Masters. Can you show me a scene where the Jedi react too slowly when they shouldn't? And don't just pause at a frame and go, see? He's just standing there.
And the fight scenes are also funny because they use stunt doubles or CGI to have the Jedis do flips and random like mid-air 360 corkscrews like Simone Biles for no obvious strategic reason. But for the rest of the time, they have the actual actors, I guess, doing the moves. So we're treated to the spectacle of fighters who can jump and flip like Olympic gymnasts. But when they're not jumping, they move like these clumsy old dudes.
I can agree that the choreography should be better at times, but you need to show examples to support what you're saying. You don't do that in this review, and the argument you made for your example didn't make any sense.
So the action isn't good, script isn't good, you know, acting isn't good. What's left? The story? Could we possibly say that although the acting is bad, the dialogue's bad, the action's bad, at least the story was good? Well, no, we can't, because unfortunately, this ship hit multiple massive narrative icebergs, so that by the end of the thing, the thing was so riddled with holes that it could just barely stay afloat. So let me give you just two examples, both from the end of the movie. In the climactic battle sequence between Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which takes place on a lava planet for some reason. I don't remember why they went to a lava planet.
Anakin went to the Mustafar system to kill the Separatists so the Sith can rule the galaxy. They literally explain this in the movie. Did you watch it?
Go to the Mustafar system, wipe out Viceroy Gunray and the other Separatist leaders. Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy.
And if you want to know why the Separatists are there, they explain that too.
I suggest you move the Separatist leaders to Mustafar.
It won't be long before the armies of the Republic track us here. I am sending you to the Mustafar system in the Outer Rim. You will be safe there.
Maybe there was a good reason. Okay, why would anyone go to a lava planet?
So, you don't remember the reasons the film gave you, yet you're making the point anyway? Do you even hear yourself?
If there are thousands of planets and you can go to any of them faster than the speed of light, why would you ever choose the lava planet for any activity?
Because it allows them to hide out from the Republic armies. It's a planet that's not heavily populated, and it makes it easier for them to avoid detection.
What possible activity why would you ever go to it? Why would anything ever happen on Is it because Anakin was evil?
Am I the only one who did the reading?
So when you turn evil, you suddenly develop an affinity for lava? You know, yeah, that is it. That's George Lucas's writing for you. Well, he's evil, so he must like lava.
It's incredible how stupid your assessment is. You talk about how dangerous this lava planet is, and why nobody would want to be there. Maybe that's why the location was chosen as a hiding spot, because nobody wants to live there, so it'd be an easy place to hide out in.
Cause hot damn, you wanna know what's a scam? Your fucking education. Nigga, that's what the scam is.
Anyway, so they were on the lava planet fighting, and they were leaping from one piece of floating debris to the next, because that's how it works, right? Never mind the fact that if you jumped onto a piece of metal that was floating in lava, you would quickly burn to death.
I literally don't care. Oh, well, the heat of lava should have killed them. Not only is this a fictional planet, in a universe with fictional materials, but it's up to the universe as to how they want their version of these things to work. Chemistry, for example, doesn't always work the same in Breaking Bad, but taking creative liberties from the real world is not a breach in cause and effect. It's a consistent element in the world we're watching.
But that's not the point. The point is that this scene ends with Obi-Wan Kenobi jumping off of one of the lava rafts and onto a gently sloping hill, and then he turns back to Anakin, who's still floating on the lava, and says, "It's over. I have the higher ground." The fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi is slightly elevated over Anakin is supposed to somehow mean that he automatically wins the fight, except that Anakin just 5 seconds earlier had leapt like 30 feet in the air with effortless ease. So even if the higher ground is decisive, he could easily just jump higher than Obi-Wan Kenobi was standing.
If Anakin has to jump to reach Obi-Wan's level, that makes it easier for him to trap him because this forces Anakin to focus on the jump and focus on Obi-Wan at the same time. And being on higher ground by definition keeps him further from the bottom, which brings you closer to the lava the lower you are. And the point isn't even that this automatically ends the fight. The point is to deter Anakin from continuing the fight.
Or he could walk up the hill and continue fighting.
Are you stupid?
If you're on a slope and you're on the lower end of it, then it takes less effort for your opponent to push back on you. Also, Anakin wanted to jump towards Obi-Wan out of pure arrogance.
You underestimate my power!
This isn't out of character, considering arrogance is well established as a flaw for Anakin, and he's fighting out of pure anger and hatred, not rational thought.
His abilities have made him, well, arrogant.
This is a wide hill. Anakin could jump to any spot on the hill where his opponent is not standing. There is no reason why Obi-Wan Kenobi standing on a hill should have ended the fight, unless Anakin did the one thing he decided to do, which was to jump directly over Obi-Wan's head so he could just casually reach up and cut his legs off. And that's how it ends. The whole sequence with Anakin just presenting his legs to be cut off. Here you go. It made no sense. Also, there's this problem. This is the last thing. The whole reason that Anakin turns to the dark side is because he had his visions that his wife Padme was going to die. Ovaltine promises him that if he goes to the dark side, he can stop his wife from dying. And then, which by the way is not a bad concept. Like that idea is not a bad idea. And then right before the final battle, Anakin seemingly chokes her to death himself. And this could work in a tragic sense. He turned to the dark side to save his wife, but then he ended up killing her. Except the problem is that for some reason we learn in the next scene that he didn't kill his wife. The doctors tell us that his wife did not sustain any physical damage at all, yet she was still dying of a broken heart or something. So rather than having the tragic ending of Anakin killing the woman who he was supposedly trying to protect, for some reason Lucas pulls the punch so that the whole choking incident was irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant if that's what causes her to lose her will to live. Everything she fought for was being undone, and the person she loved the most turned into a monster and betrayed her in everything he stood for. Her death still falls on Anakin because of the psychological damage done to her.
And now we have Padme giving up on life because her lame goth boyfriend turned evil.
Reductive framing aside, this means you know that Anakin is at fault here, so you've just refuted your own point.
Good job.
So instead of her dying a tragic death, she turns out to be a selfish coward who's not motivated to live for the 2 children she just gave birth to.
Not wanting to live after an intense betrayal and undoing the peace she fought for makes her a coward? No, that means she had a human reaction. She didn't even give up.
There's good in him. I know there's...
She still tried to stay strong and give birth to her babies, and even named them, but the uncontrollable distress simply made her lose her will to live. And yes, this is a real condition that the movie is basing this off of.
And then we cut to the next scene where Darth Vader finds out that Padme died and then throws his hands in the air and shouts, "No." More atrocious writing from George Lucas. I mean, there were dozens of potentially profound and interesting ways to have this character respond to this news. Instead, Lucas beats you over the head with the cliche sledgehammer, literally having a character throw his arms in the air and shout no. I've never seen anyone do that in real life, ever. It just doesn't happen.
He didn't just have Vader scream no in the air. He initially denied it.
I couldn't. She was alive. I felt it.
He was only screaming after he angrily ripped off the restraints, and screaming is a way people try to release their emotions instead of bottling them up, and it actually helps people cope through their tragedies, or whatever is causing them anger. So this actually does make sense for Vader to do in context.
So anyway, the point is, at this point, the promise that Ovaltine made to Vader has been revealed to be a lie, so why does Vader stay loyal to him? There's no reason.
This wasn't revealed to be a lie. Vader caused Padme's death too quickly, resulting in them not being able to discover the path to saving people from death. Why would Vader think Palpatine was lying about that when Padme died before they had the chance to stop it?
The entire narrative motivation for this character's transformation was yanked away at the last minute, and there's no attempt to deal with that problem at all. So, the acting is bad, the script is bad, the action is bad, the story is bad. What can this movie hang its hat on?
It's incredible how many things you got wrong in this review. Nothing you say at the end has any credibility, as you failed to back up all of your points, and your attempts to back them up were based on faulty reasoning.
We can't even give it marks for tone, because tonally the film's also a disaster. It's written and acted like a campy, cheesy comedy. It has old guys doing backflips with laser swords.
How is an old guy doing backflips a form of comedy? This is part of a serious action scene, whether it be the fight with the Jedi Masters or the final fight with Yoda and Palpatine. That's not comedy.
But at the same time, George Lucas wants it to be like this dark operatic masterpiece. He even has Anakin slaughter a whole room full of children. No, I have no issue with your villain doing something heinous, but you can't have a campy, cheesy movie that's also dark and also features the mass murder of kids.
The darker elements in the story take place later. The more lighthearted elements take place earlier in the movie, like during the first act. The point of the gradual shift in tone is to play into the tragedy, contrasting how things were to how they ended up. This review was terrible. I think by now it's self-explanatory how terrible this review is. This comes across as if Matt Walsh wanted to hate this film as much as possible and was reaching to find whatever he could use as dirt.
And I think there are a lot of disingenuous people online that just want to hate on the film. They don't want to make it better, right? They want to hate on it.
And the thing is, I don't think Revenge of the Sith is this great movie either. I think it's a fine movie with a fair amount of flaws, but also a lot of good elements that generally outweigh these flaws. Now there are some good criticisms you can make, but this video here completely failed at this. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and... Oh. Well, I sense my work here isn't done.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, be sure to subscribe if you want to see me respond to that. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.